Good morning and welcome to our midweek edition of the program Summit. It's good to have you join us again. My name is Jumoke Michaels. You're welcome. Banji,
Jumoke, good morning. It's our midweek edition indeed. And Jumoke, let me just refresh your knowledge. Anyway, it's what you know, that the polity is very, very, very busy. So much is actually happening in the polity, politically, economically, and so many other aspects of our national life. And it's our concern on this program to actually bring to the fore some of these issues. My name is Banji Busari.
All right, so on the program this morning, we'll be staying first of all in Lagos State. We'll be looking at so many issues, so many happenings, like Banji just said, that the polity is really heated up. And Lagos State is not left out of all this. Well, both good and good news. Let me just say good news, okay? So we have been joined this morning by the Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Lagos State. He's quite busy, so we really appreciate he's taking out time to come on the program this morning. Honorable Benga Omotosho. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for obliging us.
My pleasure.
You're welcome, sir.
Just in line with your portfolio, Ministry of Information and Strategy. When you say information, I mean, it's one of, this is a platform, one of the platforms that Lagosians get information about what's going on in Lagos State, and that's what he's here to do this morning. So much, just as Jumoke said. I recall that sometime in between 2007 and 2015, during the administration of His Excellency, that's the Raji Fashola dead. There's this popular saying that's attached to his name, that the result of work or hard work is more work. That if you put in hard work, there's a tendency for you to be given more, or to actually get upgraded, to get more assignments. That saying went viral then. Just a couple of days ago, His Excellency Babajide Sanwo-Olu was endorsed by Governor's Advisory Council, an arm of the highest organ that's in the hierarchy of APC in Lagos State, endorsed for a second term in office. You know, there had been so much speculation that Governor Sanwo-Olu would only serve a term, and that he had even consented to it. It's written, it's documented, that I will not go beyond the term. Whatever may have led to that, well, you know that it's not constitutional. He has the right to have 2 terms in office. But that speculation actually was put under the carpet 2 days ago, when GSC confirmed to the public that they had endorsed the governor for a second term. How did you receive the news, to start with?
Well, thank you so much for that question. First, let me just say that it's very right for you to say that there were speculations, postulations, and all manner of thoughts that people were saying before the endorsement of Monday came. And but let me tell you that they remained what they were: speculations and postulations and all manner of people just thinking whatever they have in their mind should be what it is in the mind of APC chiefs and party members and elders. But like you have said, the news came on Monday that Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu has been given the go-ahead to seek another 4-year mandate. It's exciting, telling you how it's exciting. Exciting in the sense that it was not unexpected, because Mr. Sanwo-Olu has done very well in every area of governance. He has done very well, and above all, he's a man of integrity. He's a man who says something and does it. He's a man who keeps the promises, and he's a man whose work we have seen all over the place. He has been able to build on what his predecessors started, and he is a man who is also looking into the future, visionary, and we see what he has achieved in the area of transportation, in the area of roads, in the area of infrastructure all over Lagos, in the health sector, which is very well known all over the country, all it did during the COVID-19 pandemic. You will agree with me that the GAC, the highest policy-making body of our great party, or Progressives Congress, that the GAC has done very well, and it has done the will of the people. It has done something that is popular by endorsing Mr. Sanwo-Olu for another tenure of office. And I would just want to use this opportunity to say that Mr. Sanwo-Olu is not going to disappoint all of us. He's going to do well, and Lagosians will see it. It's going to be visible, all of the good things that he's going to do, because the foundation is already laid. Very many laudable projects that are there that he needs to complete, like the GAC observed. The Magistrate Hospital is going to be the biggest in Africa, is there. The doctors' quarters is going to be there. The research center that will be built in Yaba, the almost completed 500-bed mental health center at K2 Ejiri. And then the Lekki Expressway Road, the Fort Mainland Bridge is there for us to start. And then the rail projects, the Blue Line and the Red Line, which by God's grace, as things are going, will be commissioned the last quarter of this year, or test run, and Lagosians will be able to see that it's possible here, that Lagos being the first sub-national to put up that kind of a project, and that all of us are going to be happy and excited and be proud of what Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu is capable of doing and what he has done. So the projects are there: new hospitals, new roads, new schools, like the one we have just commissioned in Elemoro, the comprehensive school. So all of these things are there for us to come back and consolidate for the good of the people of Lagos State. So for us it's exciting, for us it's a challenge that what Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu has started, building on what his predecessors started, and then focusing on the future of Lagos, for a greater Lagos, as we continue to say. That is very important, and is something that we are going to be able to follow through.
All right,
just
a minute.
Just follow up on this, some of the things you have just said.
No, I don't want us to go into achievement yet.
No, it's still based on what he's saying.
Please go ahead.
You know, because as the Commissioner for Information, it was very good for him to give the public the correct information, because there are those who feel, because that's what we hear time and again, that most of the projects that Governor Sanwo-Olu is completing now, he did not start them, and that he did not really start off any new project. That he's just finishing what the former governor started. So that's why I said it's still based on some of these achievements you have mentioned. So
well, it's those who are saying so, I appreciate what they have said. It's good for them to express themselves and then express the freedom of speech that we all have here. But when you look at it logically, it's often said that government is a continuum. And if you say that because somebody has laid the foundation of a project, and which is built with the public money, and then because that person's name could be attached to that project, and then you leave it to their rotting, history will not forgive you. The sweat of taxpayers will not forgive you, and you yourself, if you have any conscience, you will not forgive yourself, because this is public money that is going into all these projects. So whether somebody has started a project and another person is completing it, I think it's out of it. The most essential thing is for Lagosians to be able to get drugs when they go to hospital, to be able to use good hospitals, for their kids to be able to go to good schools, for motorists to be able to ride on the road very smooth and without potholes, for commuters to be able to board beautiful buses, comfortable buses, and all of that. So if somebody's name is attached to it or another, it doesn't even really matter. So many things have been said about Mr. Sanwo-Olu. They want to name this after him, they want to name that after, and he says no. We are working for the public. The funds we are using is public funds. So let us just continue to work. So if you want to mention all of the things that he met and completed, I think there are some of the things that you can see that Lagosians are proud of today. And there are so many he has started to that he's going to complete, that he has completed, that people can see. Some of the housing projects, he started them and he has completed them. Some of the schools, I've just spoken about the school in Elemoro with a very complement of sporting facilities, social events facilities, laboratory, so many things that you can't find in some other schools. And that is the kind of comprehensive schools that Mr. Sanwo-Olu has promised Lagosians that is going to be building now. So all these schools, I mean, over 1,047 school projects that he did. So these are things that are attached to our administration. But we do not want to come out to tell people that we did this, we did that. No, it's the government of Lagos is, and based on the funds and sweat of Lagosians, not because of we want to do personal glorification about anything that we have done, but we've done quite a lot. All of the new roads that you are seeing, many of them not started by our predecessors, but started by the administration of Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu. Like I said, for quite a long time, no new hospital has been built in Lagos, but look at the General Hospital Ojo that is coming up now. Then look at the Mother and Child hospitals in Badagry, in Ekpe, in Igondo. These are all new projects that Mr. Sanwo-Olu started and has completed.
Let me take you back a little. In your first, your reaction to my question, you said you were excited at the declaration of the endorsement by GSC. I'm sure you were excited because it could have been otherwise. People believe that the endorsement is not all about hard work. That sometimes there are some other factors responsible for endorsement of a serving governor and all that. For your principal, that's Governor Sanwo-Olu, you want to guess that maybe he had a smoother relationship with the GSC and the hierarchy of the party than probably his predecessor, because people believe that even his predecessor worked, had several projects to his name, but he didn't make it to the second term. So what can you say about his relationship with the party now?
Well, what I would like to say about that is the fact that the GAC members, they are people who live in Lagos, they are people who work in Lagos, they are people who spend all their time in Lagos, they are people who are seeing what the administration of Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu is doing. They are people who have the capacity to gauge the mind of Lagosians for them to see where the tide is heading. And I think there is not anybody who will want to swim against the tide. And I think that seeing all of the things that Mr. Sanwo-Olu has done in terms of projects, in terms of being a good party man, in terms of character, which is a very key in leadership, in terms of vision, which you have to be able to show as a good leader that this is where you are taking your people. It's a program for the future. I do not see how the GAC members could have done otherwise. Despite the fact that I said it's exciting. There is no endorsement of Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu that I do not find exciting, because I believe that such endorsements coming from very important quarters, they show that people are seeing what he's doing and they really appreciate it. And so many people, Christian Association of Nigeria, Professor Okebukola, and so many people have come out to say publicly that Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu has done very well. Even ordinary Lagosians, we see these testimonies every day. Ordinary Lagosians who don't have big names, who are not known at all, who go to the hospitals, whose children go to public schools, they say it every day that Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu has done very well. So I do not see how the GAC members could have done anything to the contrary to what they have done. And I give them kudos that they are elders of our great party who have been able to lead the way, to show party members that this is the way to go. And we appreciate them for that.
All right, so 1 year and 6 months after the EndSARS protest, the Lekki toll gate and the Ikoyi toll gates have remained not being used. And then a few weeks back, the Ikoyi link bridge, the toll gate there was meant to be opened, but somehow we got information that the government rescinded its decision on opening that gate. So could you update us on what actually transpired to stop the opening of that toll gate?
Yeah, the Lekki Concession Company had announced that it was going to reopen the Lekki-Ikoyi link bridge on the 1st of April. And then it changed its mind because of certain things that had not been done. In actual fact, it was not going to reopen on that day to start collecting toll. It was going to reopen to see how all the technological equipment that it had put in place, the new system that it wanted to use for easier thoroughfare there, easier passage of vehicles. It wanted to see how they will work for at least 2 weeks to have a kind of test run. And then while this test run was going on, it also had discussions with stakeholders, because if you are coming to a place, you need to tell your guests that you are coming and this is what you are going to do, and this is the way you would love to be received if it's possible. So that was what was going on. They had a stakeholders meeting with the residents of Ikoyi and residents of Lekki and people using the bridge. I was at one of those engagements, and the people said what they wanted. They said they didn't. Most of them said they didn't want the toll gate tolled, and then the Lekki Concession Company came out to tell them how it's going to affect us negatively if tolling did not return to that place. The kind of humongous debt that the company was doing is young workers who had not been able to work for almost 20 months and on like that. So it was agreed that the consultation should continue. And about 2 weeks after, Mr. Governor himself, Mr. Bayede Sanwo-Olu, had a meeting with them and showed them the books of the company and to explain to them that the company is indeed in debt and it needed to be saved, and then to seek the understanding of stakeholders who are at the meeting, Lekki Residents Association and another association of residents and landlords too. And they too, they made their points, and then they sought some concessions. And then Mr. Governor said the Lekki Concession Company should appoint 2 people, and then the landlords, they should appoint 2-3 people to come and look at everything, have a meeting, consider all the concessions that they're asking for, and then return to him for him to okay them. So that once the concessions are okayed, then a date can be picked for Lekki Concession Company to return to the toll gate and start its business again. So I think where we are now is that those concessions have been tabled, but I'm not sure whether Mr. Governor has seen them or he has approved them, but I am sure that he's going to approve them. All of the things that the landlords and residents are asking for, they are going to be done. And then any moment from now, SCC is going to announce the time it's going to return there. But the most important thing is that the government is saying, well, we are seeking understanding of residents that SCC has to return to that place. It's got debts to pay, it's got workers to reabsorb. The people who are saying that they are against tolling, we are doing everything to be able to convince them that this is what to do. Because if you have borrowed money from African Development Bank and some local banks, and then you are not paying back, the implication for business in Lagos, in Nigeria, for that matter, is very huge. Because people will see us are people who don't keep their word, whose word is not their bond. And once they see you like that, it will be very difficult for you to attract foreign direct investment, an area in which Lagos is very proud to say that it's doing very well. So we do not want this Lekki Ikoyi link bridge to be a kind of stumbling block that people can refer to in future when businesses from Nigeria are looking for foreign investment.
So there's no plan for the Lekki part of the toll gate to reopen yet. We are just talking about the Ikoyi.
Correct.
part.
We are talking about Ikoyi
Okay.
link bridge, Ikoyi Lekki link bridge, not the Admiralty Way toll plaza.
Okay, let's move on and look at some other issues in the state. Recently, we had it in the news that the former chairman of NURTW Lagos State, that's we call him Alhaji Musliu Oluomo, was appointed by Lagos State government as chairman of parks, the Lagos Parks, as a motor parks. Now, before then, there was this crisis in NURTW, and which led to his suspension. And before we knew what was happening, it was in the social media realm that Lagos State had appointed him. But there was this denial by officials of Lagos State government that there had never been such appointment, that it remained a rumor. Only for Lagos State to appoint him 4 weeks after that earlier denial. Now, we'd like you to tell us what actually transpired and what was the justification for giving him an appointment following the crisis he had with his national body.
Well, so many journalists have asked me this question, and in most cases I've thrown the question back at them. But before doing that, it would be nice for us to put everything in proper context. Very early in the morning, one day, members of Lagos State NURTW, they marched on the government house in Marina, and then they said they would like to see the governor. And what was the matter? He said they were no longer going to be members of NURTW, that they didn't like the way they were being treated by the national body. And the governor said, look, I don't want any problem in Lagos. You guys take it easy. We will look into the matter, and whatever is fair, whatever is a matter of equity, we are going to do. So they went back. And not quite 2-3 days after that, the national body said it was suspending NURTW chairman in Lagos and his chapter and all of that. So the Lagos chapter of NURTW, as a news person and a spokesman of the state, I was following the events closely. The NURTW in Lagos now came out to say, okay, if you are suspending us, we are pulling out of your union. And the government said, look, there is no way that you can leave motor parks all alone. If NURTW Lagos is saying that it's going to pull out of the body, and then the national body is saying that we are suspending you. So we were seeing a kind of conflict coming. So for us to be able to avoid this conflict, the government now moved in and said, look, NURTW activities are suspended at motor parks. And once the government did that, we sent out people to keep an eye on the motor parks so that there will be no problem. So we did that for a few weeks, and we were watching what was going on. And do not forget, the kind of crisis we are speaking about happened also in Oyo, in Ondo, and I think some other parts of the country too. So when the government saw that there could not be any vacuum, it's true that somebody announced himself as a chairman, and the government came out to say that it had not appointed anybody as chairman. That was the situation at that particular time, because the government had enough time, was looking for enough time to be able to study the situation, for it to be able to seek advice. And if you recall the statement that I signed at that time, the government said that it was going to appoint a parks management committee comprising people who know the industry, comprising people who know the workings of the industry, comprising people who have been in that sector for quite some time. So when the government sought advice, had consultations here and there, discussed with people who are knowledgeable about that sector. It now put together that committee that you saw. Do not forget that the structure of NURTW was there. It was never pulled down. It was just the nomenclature that changed. These guys, they said they did not want to be members of NURTW anymore, that they want to run their own show exclusive of NURTW. But the government, all we were after was to ensure that there was no peace disruption coming from the motor parks. And that is what we have done, has been able to achieve. That, despite the initial teething problems, fracas, some scuffle there, I mean, I think all seems to be quiet now.
No, all is not quiet yet, sir. I don't know if it has got to your office now. Just a couple of days ago at Miron, that's in Ijayi area of Lagos State, the two bodies, that's NURTW and the park management, almost were set for a clash, and it would have been very bloody but for the quick intervention of the police. So I don't know what other efforts you are doing apart from putting in place the park to ensure that there's a permanent peace in Lagos State.
That is why you have the police. We are talking about something that was going to happen in Miron, and that the police moved in swiftly to douse the fire. That's the way it should be. You cannot have an organization as big as that, and then about 200 and something parks in Lagos, and then you have a committee overseeing the parks that in itself might have been factionalized before you even moved in. So there's no way you would not have, like any other human environment, there's no way you can avoid conflict. But the ability of the government to move in there to ensure that Lagosians visitors are not disturbed is what is key in this particular instance. So for the police who have gone to Miron to keep those guys in check, I think they have done well, and that is what we are going to be seeing. But if you feel that you have a human environment where there will be no conflict, I don't think it happens. So the ability of the government to go in there and ensure that there's no spillover onto the street, there's no spillover onto residential areas, there's nothing to disturb the Lagosians. That is the duty of the government. That is what we have promised, and that is what we are going to do.
All right, I think this should be the last issue now. The issue of Lagos government shutting down Chrisland schools over alleged abuse. And we heard that the government also gave instructions that anyone caught distributing or receiving the sex tape risk 14 years imprisonment. How did the government get to react so fast on this matter? Because immediately it was breaking, government gave the instruction, government gave some warning, this kind of warning to people because of that video in the public space.
Well, we have, first let me just tell you that for us as parents, all of us, it's a very disturbing matter. It's an emotional matter. It's a matter that we feel has taken us back. I mean, you have kids indulging in this kind of public show of shame. I think it's something that every parent should be ashamed of. And that is the way that we have seen it in government, that we have moved swiftly. There is nothing of this nation or any other nation at all that is very important that the government of Lagos State has been like a bicycle about. We are always, we have that agility to be able to move as fast as possible when you have this kind of thing. We saw the narrative in the public space, and we felt that if it was allowed to continue to go on like that, if we are not reminding Lagosians that sharing that kind of video is illegal, is something that could make you go to jail, that we wouldn't have performed our duty as a government, as the watchdog of society. So that was why the government moved in quickly to remind Lagosians that showing this thing is not good for us. It's a kind of apart from being a family tragedy, it's a societal tragedy. In my own view, societal failure. We've been able to keep a tab on our kids. We've been unable to do what is expected of us. But in this particular instance, I do not want to blame anywhere. I do not want to say the government has done what it did because of this and that. But because the matter is under investigation, and for us now, everybody is feeling very sad about it. So I would not want to make more comments on it until the people investigating the matter, they have come out with what they have found. There have been allegations here and there have been recriminations, there have been speculations and postulations about what happened or what did not happen. But like I said, the matter is with the investigators, and whatever they have come out with, we will also use it as part of our policy making experience. That is not to say that Lagos State government does not have in place a policy to tackle this kind of problem, and that is why you saw that we moved in swiftly to close down those schools.
All right, as we go, let me just ask, it's a general feeling out there that an election year is a year that most governors do not work, that they spend 80% of the time politicking. Let me just simply ask, how active is governance in Lagos State? I mean, since the beginning of this year, and what do we expect as we move on to primaries and the election next year?
If you see some other states, you can see that people are all over the place, politicking. People have even jumped the gun, campaigning without INEC saying that it's time for campaigns and all of that. But you see, in Lagos, if you watch very well, even at night, you see Mr. Bayede Sanwo-Olu, the governor, inspecting one project or the other, or talking about it. You see our commissioners all over the place, inspecting roads, inspecting hospitals, and talking about what they are doing. So for us, we feel that the time for politicking has really not come. Now it's time for us to work. And there is no way a government or a governor like Mr. Bayede Sanwo-Olu, you see all the things that you have piled up, that you want to do it for sure, that will give a meaning to lives of Lagosians, and then you see everything as politicking. No, now is the time for us to work. When it's time for us to do politics, we are going to go out there too and do it with the full excitement, full force of the way that we are working, knowing fully that what we have done and what we have out there for Lagosians to see that we have done, that we are going to do, will be enough for them to, support us.
Are you very, very how strong in terms of your positive disposition to the GAC has endorsed the governor? Are you very, very positive that the public out there will actually endorse you by their votes when they endorse the governor?
Oh, sure. By the grace of God and by the power of Lagosians who are seeing what we are doing. You drive from here, from your office, for example, to all the way to the far end of Abule Egba, no single pothole. Then all of the good roads that we are doing as we speak now, in Ekpe, in Ikorodu, in Badagry, all of those housing projects, all of those schools that we have built, the new hospital, all of the things that Mr. Bayede Sanwo-Olu has done, we speak for him in the minds of Lagosians. And when it's time for Lagosians to cast their votes, they will remember.
All right.
A governor that they see, a governor that they can touch, a governor that they can talk to, a governor who has their interest in his mind all of the time. So I believe that without missing words, Lagosians are going to be out there backing Mr. Sanwo-Olu when the time comes.
All right. Thank you so much, sir, for throwing light to at least these few issues that we have touched on the program this morning. Thank you so much for coming. We have been discussing with the Honorable Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Lagos State, Mr. Gbenga Omotosho. All right, so we'll be transiting to another topic as he leaves us now. Please stay with us. We'll be back shortly after this break. Thank you for still being there. It's still Summit, and in this segment of the program, we'll be talking about the call for interim government. Well, it's no more news. It's been all over since Monday when, Chief Afe Babalola called on the Nigerian government that they should suspend plans of the 2023 elections and opt for a stopgap interim government. And we remember that about a month ago, this same Chief Afe Babalola called out for a return to the parliamentary system of government before another election. So this, what he said is just a follow-up to what he mentioned about a month ago. Well, I'm here now with Mr. Jide Ologun, who is a public affairs analyst and an attorney at law. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for being here. All right, so when you heard this suggestion, because I like to call it a suggestion, by Chief Afe Babalola, what was your reaction? First, as a bona fide Nigerian and someone who is always abreast of happenings in the country.
The learned Sikh is well respected, and of course, as an elder statesman, he has the right to be concerned about the state of the nation. So he's calling for an interim government, as the soft landing from this current regime must have been informed by the situation we have in the country right now, where we have a high level of insecurity, poverty, hardship, different kinds of issues that are engaging us. Because if you look at interim government itself, it's like a stopgap. It's an intervening regime, and it's also adopted when there is a collapse of an existing regime. And the last time we had it in Nigeria was between August and November 1993, when the election of Chief MKO Abiola was annulled. Then there were some issues, and General Ibrahim Babangida, left office, and there was a need for a stopgap. So Chief Shoneko, blessed memory, came in, but eventually General Sani Abacha took over from NS Shoneko. And the big question we should be asking is that, is Nigeria better for it today, 1993 till now? And one of the arguments of the learned Silk, Chief Afe Babalola, is the fact that the constitution we operate right now was handed over to us like a military constitution, the 1999 constitution. But we know that there had been several attempts at amending the constitution, and for the likes of us, I think we need to go beyond this and address the fundamental issues we have in the country. Now, the questions people are asking, how do we even set up the interim government? He suggested that people should be brought in from some professional bodies, from past presidents and leaders. So are we not going through the recycling? Are we not going to leave some people out? Why don't we now, like I have been doing frantically, call on the National Assembly to help Nigeria? You see, because the National Assembly is a unique feature of democracy. Under the military regime, you don't have the National Assembly. And the National Assembly is the legislative arm that represents the people, where we have 109 senators and 360 House of Representatives members. And if you look at Section 4 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, it stipulates that the National Assembly shall make laws for the peace, order, and good governance of Nigeria. So, and they have oversight mandate also. So where you realize that the essence of making laws are not being fulfilled, you still proceed by the provisions of the same law to ensure you bring the deserved change to pass. And I know that there are remedies for a failing government system, including impeachment proceedings within the Constitution, because there is a guide in our Constitution. If you look at Section 14, subsection 2 of the Constitution, it says that the security and the welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. And where you don't have this being implemented for one reason or the other, then you throw it to the ring of corruption. Section 15, subsection 5 of the same constitution says that the state shall abolish corrupt practices and abuse of office. So there are provisions in the same constitution that can help those who are representing us to put this nation in the direction of development and prosperity.
But with the National Assembly that we have now, do you envisage or do you see them being able to bridge this gap that you're talking about? With the way, with the direction you're going,
They are able to, but are they willing to?
Is another question.
Exactly. The ability is there. Constitutionally, you know, they get their salaries, they get their allowances. They are not complaining about poverty. But now they are beginning to be concerned about insecurity. And let me ask this simple question. I do not wish it happens. But recently, this bandit attacked a train transiting from Abuja to Kaduna, successfully so. What about if we wake up one morning and these guys invade the National Assembly? What will the honorable members be doing? So maybe it's still far away from them. And right now, the reports we are reading is that they are moving closer to the seat of power. Niger State governor, not opposition, complained that about 12 out of 25 local government areas in Niger State have been taken over by these bandits. We can see what's going on in Kaduna State. Kaduna, that is the seat of the military prowess of Nigeria. The military base attacked, soldiers killed, international airport, you know, infiltrated by bandits, people killed. In fact, the governor of Kaduna State himself came out that at least about 9 persons are either killed or kidnapped on a daily basis in Kaduna State at a time.
Yeah.
So, and you combine this with what we are having in other parts of the country, you must be worried. But maybe when the National Assembly realize that the insecurity of one is the insecurity of all, they may do the needful. But right now, they are perceived by many, and perception is a very strong feature in public relations. As a rubber stamp National Assembly, even though they deny being one, because Nigerians expect more from them.
All right, so this voicing out that we are getting at this time, we have just about 10 months or thereabout to the next election. And we have this voicing out coming now that this constitution will not do well for us to elect new leaders, that it will just be game as usual if we use this constitution. Coming at this time, do you see it as something that is actually meant to cause chaos? Because everybody is like talking about this now, and it's like it won't lead us in the right direction.
You know,
Coming at this time, is it a right time?
I do not agree with that. It was the same constitution that Chief Afe Babalola defended Obasanjo up to the Supreme Court and won. And he got a very wonderful post thereafter. And so for Ejide Ologun, the constitution may need extensive review, but it's not faulty, so to say. Neither is it faultless. There are basic provisions there that can help us. I think what we are using to benchmark the constitution are the symptoms of how the constitution is engaged. And I sit here to say that the spirit of the constitution is not even implemented. If you read section 15 to section 18, and I have said it, if it's implemented up to 60%, Nigeria should be the third richest country in the world. Talking about the economic policy, the fact that we need to relate. In fact, section 18 makes a provision that education must be provided for all citizens. So to say, the law is there, but are we as a people, are we implementing the laws? Is there a law that says that you can open the borders of your nation to terrorists to come into your nation? It is not written in any law. But by virtue of policy decisions and executive decisions, we open our borders to terrorists. Is there any provision in the constitution that says that all chiefs should steal our oil resources? Is there any provision in the constitution that says our refineries should not function so we can spend 100 billion to maintain turnaround, to maintain moribund refineries? No. So sometimes it's not with the laws you have. but with whether you implement the laws or not. And that's why some of us are here with the argument. If we have an interim government, they come up with laws, and we still don't implement those laws. We just complicate everything. But as it is now, let's engage this government. We are already making provisions for elections. We have amended the Electoral Act of 2010. We now have the new Electoral Act of 2022. We have made provisions. We have amended. We are ready. What may happen is that the level of insecurity may grow so much that people become afraid. But I have also not read it in the Constitution that if out of 70 million, 20 million comes out to vote, that the votes won't be valid. So right now we should focus on insecurity. That may be a tool for those who want to plunge this nation into crisis. And what do? We have a president and the commander-in-chief of the armed forces whose responsibility is to provide security and welfare. And so when we engage, and may I ask a very simple question, when you are not getting the result you expect in a deal, what do?
Change strategy.
You change strategy, and strategy is a long-term plan for success. And so right now, I do not want any stampede for this country, but again, like I said, I think the call by Chief Afe Babalola is an indictment on this regime, which simply interpreted means this regime has failed. And there are others who are beginning to say that. We were calling on them to commend them, but some were comfortable with by not commenting. Now we have them in all quarters, kings and everybody commenting, because what we have going on in this country must concern those who love this nation. So here we are now. We hope that a more comprehensive and concrete approach will be engaged than the interim suggestion. He also said that the National Assembly should be on a part-time basis.
Yeah.
He made some valid points that can still be implemented. But what quality of governance do we have in the country now before we start talking about the style of government?
One of the things he even suggested that looks a bit dicey to me is asking that even if the interim government is created, the people that should also manage that interim government are the same leaders we say have failed. So how honest will that be?
And that's why
that interim government?
And that's why I said we may not be addressing fundamental issues. We have had one in the country. Is the country better for it now? So we need to sit down and go beyond the symptoms and deal with the basic issues. There is injustice in the land. How do we do that? The role of equity is to prevent miscarriage of justice. So how do we engage our resources? And he spoke about a parliamentary system of government. Yeah. We had a very wonderful 1963 constitution that empowered regions. So
we are still tilting towards restructuring in
exactly. And it's so simple. The National Assembly can rise up to say, now let's remove management of resources from the exclusive legislative list. Let's put it on the concurrent legislative list. If Ondo State has bitumen, let Akeredolu or whoever is the governor manage the bitumen, enjoy 70% of the revenue, bring 30% to Abuja. You see, if Niger Delta has the oil and gas, maximize it, bring in experts to handle the refineries. Then you contribute to the center. And if Kaduna has the military power, whatever is your unique selling point, you maximize it. Then we all enjoy together, using the Commonwealth for the common good. And that will deal with the sense of injustice and marginalization. But a situation where you have gold deposit in Zamfara, for example, that can earn us about $2 billion annually, and some are stealing it, flying it out with private jets, smuggling it, because it's the federal government that can make pronouncement. You have enough iron ore in this country to be the steel giant of the world. So what is happening? So when you devolve the powers to the state, for instance, now if we have state police, we should be able to deal with insecurity. So those are the issues.
All right. So in summary, what you are saying is that that call for interim government is not what we need now.
Some may think it's what we need,
no,
but for me, it's not what we need. We need fundamental transformation onto good governance, onto good governance. It's not about the system of government you run. but the sincerity of purpose.
All right. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your thought with us on that topic.
I mean, we
Thank
congratulate Governor Olajide
Oh,
Sanwo-Olu
yeah, God, so yeah, you can go
getting
ahead and
the
congratulate him.
second
term endorsement.
ticket. And
Yeah.
we wish him the best, and that he will at the polls, and that he will really deliver more on good governance, because Nigerians are yearning for good governance now.
Thank you so much, sir. Oh, well, that's our program today. We thank you for staying with us, and we know that you have been educated on Lagos State issues, and also on this second one we have discussed now, the call for interim government. Our guest said that's not what we need right now. My name is Jumoke Michaels. We'll see you again on Monday, and also to sign out for Banji Busari. We'll be here again on Monday for another edition of the program. Bye-bye.